As the world around us changes and adapts to social, economic, and environmental changes, so does the world of design. Welcome back to our channel with me, Robyn Santini, and Planner 5D. As I hope most of you are well aware by now, my name is Robyn Santini. I am owner and creator of business Create Interior Designs, an interior design firm here in South Africa. And as I said, I'm partnering with Planner 5D to make sure that you are getting the latest interior design tips and trends to assist you when using your Planner 5D app. A design trend is simply a change in the pattern of design, of how we see design. And trends and changes in these patterns help us forecast trends and design styles that we are going to be seeing in the future. And that is exactly what we are going to be looking at today in today's video, Design Trends for 2022. We are going to take a look at some of the major trends that 2022 is going to bring us in space and design as well. From here, I'm going to show you some really important design philosophies, styles, and color schemes, as well as show you some practical tips on how you can bring these trends into your very home. Before we dive into the nitty-gritty, I am going to highlight and give you a couple of words that you can use to summarize the design trends and design direction that we are going in 2022. Word number one, tranquility. Something about a space being tranquil is really attracting us at the moment. Our next word is minimalism, and our final word is longevity. For the purposes of clarity for today's lesson and today's video, I have divided our trends up into two main topics, two main categories. Category one is structure and space, and category number two is design and decor. Right, so all of that out of the way, let's not waste any more time and let's begin with our design trends for 2022. I'm going to get you started with trend number one, versatility is key. Now this trend is a trend of high importance given our current climate, and this trend is all about maximizing space, creating a space that has multiple activities or multiple functions that can take place in any given space or that given area, for example. In essence, a single space that accommodates us or allows us to perform 2 or 3 activities at any given time. But why, you may ask, why is maximizing space so important to us? Not everyone has the luxury of space, and we don't all have the same work-life structure. What do I mean by this? Some of us are working from a dedicated office environment, some of us are working from a home office built environment, and some of us have chosen a hybrid work-life structure. What do I mean? Some people are working partially from home and partially from an office space. From this, we are also starting to see the homebody movement, as we see a rise in work from home, a rise from people wanting to stay at home, wanting to create environments from a home space. Now, with that being said, it brings us to a really exciting new term, the 𝐏𝐿. 𝐏𝐿 is a term that is trending at the moment and one that I'm sure you will love. So what is the 𝐏𝐿? Well, the term 𝐏𝐿 has been developed through the need to maximize space and being versatile within our spaces. But what on earth does it mean? Well, it directly refers to an office within a closet. A closet, for example, that has been repurposed into an office space, so therefore gaining 2 functions out of your office closet space. This term can be describing any small space, in fact, a cupboard, a cloakroom, or a corner that has been transformed into your home office or work environment. So right now, I'm sure a lot of you are asking yourselves, how do I do this? How do I bring this versatility is key trend into my current space? I'm going to show you 3 simple steps on a practical level on how to bring versatility is key and maximizing your space into your very own space. Concept number 1, create a space that has more than one function to accommodate for multiple activities that will take place in a space. So that can be as simple as a a long desk or a big desk that can have two functions or activities taking place at any given time. So your kids doing your homework at one end and potentially you working at the other. Maybe you want some sort of a screen in the middle to divide the space, but in essence, you're getting two activities taking place in one zone. Step number 2, sectionalize. Sectionalizing a space is key and very important when it comes to versatility. Create areas that have more than one function. For example, a kids' room that doubles up as a homework or playroom. And lastly, your last tip, use clever ideas for rooms to fill up for more functions while still maintaining design clarity and functionality. Now, this is something I can't stress enough. Don't ruin the design clarity and functionality of a space just to get additional activities. Make sure that you're still maintaining these core principles. Moving on to trend number 2, defining spaces. Now, I'm not suggesting we abandon all idea of the open plan space, open plan office, open plan home. Not at all. My suggestion here and the trend that we're seeing is to rather open space. We're not wanting to close off spaces and create dark little holes. We're wanting to keep and maintain the open space, open air, fresh feel, but we are wanting to see some visual separation within these spaces. And the reason for this is so that we can see and we can accommodate more than one activity within our spaces. We are starting to see the trend of carving out spaces and segregating spaces, defining spaces between communal living areas and areas that need and require more peace and quiet. For example, a homework room, an office space, you're kind of wanting to separate that from your more communal spaces or your louder areas from your kitchen or your entertainment spaces. Right, so moving on to the practical side, how can we incorporate this trend of separation and definition into our current spaces? This characteristic or trend is brought into your space with a very simple term, the use of screens. Now, what do I mean by this? Bringing screens into spaces. Now, this could be a mobile screen, this could be a furniture piece, any kind of element that visually separates a space to allow for more than one function. Moving on to style trend number 3, and one of my favorite trends for this year, Minimalist Zen. Now, I'm sure most of you are asking yourselves or have thought, I have seen this trend before. So minimalism has been around for a very long time and is still trending in 2022, which in fact we are lucky for. Why? Because in essence, minimalism brings in a sense of stress-free and tranquility within our lives. For those of you who have watched a previous video or our previous videos that we've done, I created a style trends vlog or video for 2021, and in that video, I don't know if you remember, but I made a slight reference to the Japandi style trend that was trending in 2021, and we're still seeing a lot of that today. However, minimalism in 2022 is taking things to the extreme. Why? There are many reasons for this, but I do believe that the pandemic and the current economic and social influences that we're going through and that are influencing our world today have pushed us to really reevaluate the spaces that we are inhabiting, the spaces that we are performing our daily activities and functions in, to understand what is wasted space and what is actually a necessity. What are we adding to our spaces that we really need? But what is a minimalist space? Well, minimalism is the art of creating and bringing tranquility into one space. The idea of removing clutter and waste and only keeping what is absolutely essential to that space to be able to perform daily tasks. Let's get practical. Let me show you how to bring this trend into your space. Firstly, you want to start off by utilizing natural materials. Materials such as grassy textures, natural fibers, and fabrics. You want to be thinking about cotton, linen, and wools. Next, you want to bring in soft colors. You want to be thinking about a color scheme or color palette such as grays, stones, and sands. These colors are going to bring about a sense of calm and soothing properties to your space. The next characteristic you want to look at is maximizing natural light. Now, this is super important when it comes to a minimalist space. And last tip, Declutter, remove, take all the waste out of your space. Moving on to trend number 4, Lagoon. And this is a trend that I'm incredibly excited about, and I've started bringing it into my very own home. Why? Let me show you why. Lagoon is in fact a Swedish term that is roughly translated, not too little, not too much, just right. Now, I'm sure most of you have heard of the trend 𝐏𝐥𝐚𝐧𝐬, or any of you who have seen my 2021 trends have seen us touching on the 𝐏𝐥𝐚 trend as well. Well, we are not totally abandoning this trend. In fact, this trend of Lagoon is considered or classified as the new 𝐏𝐥𝐚 trend. Both trends in style, types, and characteristics are coming from a very similar region. However, your Lagoon trend is in fact coming from Sweden. A direct definition is the principle of living a balanced, moderately paced, low-fuss life. And this is exactly what we're wanting to bring into our designs, into our spaces, into our areas that we're inhabiting and performing functions in. Now, this can be done with decor elements, color schemes, and space planning and design layouts. But let me show you some key practical tips that you can use to bring Lagoon into your style and home. Starting with tip number 1, remove and reduce clutter. Remove waste and elements that are totally unnecessary to your space and just leave the bare minimum. Step number 2, make sure that you only have elements in your space that you love and you need. Now, this is going to lend itself towards economical value in a space. Lagoon touches on being quite economical with your design and your design trend. Next characteristic, you want to include soothing and calming colors. So natural color palettes that are going to create a sense or a space with tranquil sensations. And lastly, you want to create a space that aims to bring a sense of balance to your environment. From here, we move on to trend number 5, designing for sensation. So what does this trend mean? What do we mean designing for sensation? And the simple concept of this trend is to design thinking about more than one aspect within a space, more than one sensation. So if you think about it, when we walk into an environment or a space, we have a sense of touch, a sense of smell, and a sense of visual aspect to the space. And what you're wanting to do is make sure that you're ticking all those boxes. You're wanting to make sure that when you walk into a space, you are happy with how it smells. You're happy with the touch on your hands and on your skin, and then obviously the aesthetic appeal as well. Texture and scent. So design around the bodily sensations. How do we feel in a space? What is going to take that space and lift it and elevate it to an additional level? Think about how the space smells. Think about how that countertop feels to the touch under your hands, or how that floor finish feels when you rub your bare foot along the surface. Right, so how do we incorporate this into our spaces? Let's start off with touch. You want to start off by thinking about fabrics. What fabrics have we brought into the space and how do they feel to the touch? Fabrics that you might want to consider bringing in are furs, that could be fake furs, soft silks, natural linens, any textured fabric on cushions, couches, occasional chairs that you think has a nice sensation to it, something that creates a homely or welcoming environment. Next, you can think about elements like wall cladding. Think rough, exposed natural stones, timber paneling. Now, I'm sure this is one that you've seen on all of the social media platforms at the moment. Creating DIY timber paneling on areas and elements within your spaces not only adds an aesthetic visual appeal that's incredibly beautiful, but also adds a sense of texture to a wall. So it gives a visually textured element, so depth to the space, as well as a physical textured space, and one that I think you should be and can be accommodating and incorporating into your space. The next tip here is add in textured accessories. So this could be clay pots, clay elements that have a texture to the outside. It could be timbered accessories that also have a texture on the outside. And the last tip for this section or this trend is adding scented candles or scented elements to your space. Make your space smell amazing. Some elements that you want to add or consider adding to your space are room diffusers with scented natural oils, and this you can find on almost any site, online site, or any home store or home appliance store. I've got a beautiful scented candle from a local designer from where I am. This candle has not only a textured fabric when you open it, so it's beautiful to the touch, but when I remove the candle from this beautiful bag, there's a beautiful scent to it that lasts a very long time when I'm burning it. So it makes my space feel like home. It's wonderful. Moving on to trend number 6, bold and exciting. Color in 2022 is back in a big way. However, we are not totally abandoning the neutral color scheme or neutral color palette. We are adding bolder colors to this that are not only grounding, but calming as well. Let's take a look at the practical side and look at exactly what colors we need to be adding to our space for 2022. Your first color is a deep purple hue, such as your aubergine. Now, aubergine is a color that we've seen creeping in for a while, but 2022 is the year of aubergine. Next, you want to look at green shades. Bring all those green elements in. We're taking the outside and bringing it into our internal spaces. Next, think about earthy tones. Think stone, sand, and clay. Very grounding, natural colors. And lastly, and one of my favorites, as you can see, charcoal. Now, how can I bring these colors into my space? Well, in fact, it's quite simple. You can do a simple paint effect. You can clad a wall in the timber that we've just looked at and paint effect over that. You can bring these colors into fabrics, artwork, wall murals, etc. Moving on to trend number 7, vintage and longevity. Say goodbye to mass production and say hello to homemade or handcrafted pieces. Looking into sustainability and maximizing time and usage in well-made, handmade pieces of furniture and decor elements in one space is high on our trend list for 2022. This is also a space that you are going to start noticing a very big lean towards thrifting and shopping at thrift stores and antique stores. Many of you might have seen many social media influencers advocating the thrifting life. Why? Because this is such a sustainable way to shop. Vintage pieces have a story and history behind them. They add character and personality to your spaces. So why not invest in more? Let's take a look at the practical side of things as I show you how to add this trend into your space. And in fact, it's incredibly simple. Pop down to your local antique store or go and rummage in your parents' garage or your grandparents' home and see if there are any pieces within these spaces that can add to your current home environment or your space. But before you do this, I do want to add a little bit of caution to this. Don't go and buy elements that are unnecessary to your space. Don't just pick up a piece that looks really nice and you feel, oh, I could just add it to that dining room table, that server unit. Pick up pieces that you really need. Remember, 2022 is all about sustainability and removing waste, decluttering our spaces. Moving on to our last trend for today, topic and trend number 8, organic and curved lines. Now, this trend is all about moving away from rigid and formal interiors to more comfortable, tranquil spaces. Why? Well, there is in fact a psychology around lines. Organic lines and curved lines are known to bring about a sense of tranquility and peace. In this trend and in 2022, we are moving away from rigidity and bringing about more fluidity in our space. You can add this trend into your space by incorporating some very simple pieces of furniture and accessories. You want to start by adding curved seating elements. So you can add a couch with a curved back or a curved arm, maybe even a curved leg. You can look at wall art and graphics. So wall art that has curved lines in it, or paintings that have curved lines or curved features. You can look at adding accessories that have curves to them, and then look at your structural elements. If you are doing structural changes, now this is not a necessity, this is just an if, you can add archways, rounded elements and curved elements and features into your walls and built pieces. And there you have it, my budding designers. That is a very compact guide to your trends for 2022. I hope the practical elements are useful and you can bring them into your very own spaces. Don't forget to hit subscribe to stay tuned to any of our new and latest content that we are creating. We've got a whole lot coming up in the next couple of months, so do be sure that you have subscribed and you're on track for that. If you're interested in seeing anything that we haven't shared or any elements that you would like to elaborate on, please do add that in the comments section as well. Good luck everyone with incorporating these 2022 styles and trends into your spaces, and I look forward to seeing you next time.